Okay, let's try to explain this quadratic problem here. So first, we've got our x and y axes here. Here's our x, here's our y. And then we've got a football being kicked up in the air and then coming back down. We know that when the football reaches that point, it is at the ordered pair 3, 12. We know this is the origin, and we know that when the ball comes back down, it is at the point x is 6, y is 0. We also know that a fly is going to leave the origin and fly towards the football, and it's going to intercept the path of the parabola at that point. And that point is what we want to find out. So, let's pause here for a second. Now, let's take a look at the fly. We are told that the fly is flying at h of t equals 4 over 3t. That is the exact same thing as saying y equals 4 over 3x. Let's pause again. Okay, so now we have our fly, and it is going to fly using this equation. We'll get back to that in a little while. Now what we need to determine is we need to determine how to find that quadratic equation. Quadratic equations are written in the form y equals a x minus h quantity squared plus k. Let's pause. Now we know a couple of pairs of coordinates here. The first one we know is our vertex, and it is located at the point x is 3, y is 12. Let's go ahead and plug that in here. So we have we have y equals a x minus 3 quantity squared plus 12. Okay, pause. Okay, now let's take our other point, this one right here, 6 comma 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the 0 for y and say that that equals a 6 minus 3 quantity squared plus 12. Okay, now let's go ahead and solve this a little further. 0 equals 3 squared a plus 12. And we'll clean it up just a bit more. 0 equals 9a plus 12. Now we'll subtract 12 from both sides. And I have negative 12 equals 9a. I'll now divide 9 from both sides. Once I do this, I have a equals negative 4 over 3. And that's the first step towards solving this whole nasty equation. Pause. Okay, now that we have a equals negative 4 over 3, let's go back to the standard form of a quadratic equation. And it simply says this. Actually, let's go back to our vertex form. And so now we have, let's see, where are we here? Pause.
Bold is too, by the way.
Now let's go back to our equation here, and what we're going to do is we're going to insert the a equals negative 4 over 3 into the equation. So we have, we'll call it f of x, equals negative 4 over 3 x minus 3 quantity squared plus 12. You'll remember that the 3 and the 12 are our vertex. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this thing a little bit. So we have f of x equals negative 4 over 3 x minus 3 plus 12. If I FOIL these back together, I get negative 4 over 3 x squared minus 6x plus 9 plus 12. And that's all going to be in parentheses. Scratch that. Yes, it's all going to be in parentheses except for the 12. So, just like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute the negative 4 over 3 to the three terms in the parentheses, and that will give me the following. It'll give me negative 4 over 3x squared. Now negative 4 times negative 6 is positive 24. 24 over 3 is 8. 24 over 3 is not 8. 24 over 3. Hold the phone. Okay, we're back live. So, as I'm distributing the negative 4/3 to the x squared, I get negative 4x squared, 4/3 squared x squared, something like that. Negative 4 over 3 times negative 6 gives us positive 24 over 3, which reduces to positive 8x. Now, when I distribute the negative 4 over 3 to the 9, I get negative 36 over 3, which is negative 12. And then you will recall that we have another 12 outside. These two guys are going to combine and go to 0. So let's continue now. We have negative 4/3 x squared plus 8x. And earlier we were told that the fly was flying at 4/3 x. Okay, now let's multiply everything by 3 to clear out our fractions. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3. Here's what we get. 4x equals, what do we get? Negative 4x squared? Sure. And then we have, plus 24x. Now I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. And that will give us, it's going to give us a 0 equals negative 4x squared plus 20x. So now we have 0 equals negative 4x squared plus 24x. Hold it. That should say 20x. Alright, so get rid of this. Let's make this 20x. Okay. Now I'm going to divide negative 4 out of everything. Here's what we get. We get x squared minus 5x. Now I'm going to factor an x out of everything. And we get x minus, we get x, and then in parentheses we get x minus 5. And you'll recall that equals 0. Well, here's what that means. It means the first x equals 0. This x equals that 0. And it also means that x minus 5 equals 0. Now, if we add 5 to both sides, we get x also equals 5. When I draw this graph, you will understand a lot better. Pause. Okay, so our graph is going to look an awful lot like this. We've got this football that goes up and comes down. Here is 312. Here is 60. And then the origin. Okay, and our fly also took off from the origin. That's the reason why we got an answer of 0 right there. But the other answer that we got was at x equals 5. And that's right here. So we get x equals 5, and that's where our fly is going to intercept our parabola. The only thing left to do is to see where the y value will be. Let's pause for a second. If we go back to our original equation, which simply says y equals negative 4 over 3 x squared plus 8x, and now we substitute a 5. So we get negative 4 over 3, and then I substitute that 5 that we just derived. Now let's do a little simple math here. And we will get negative 4 over 3 times 25 plus 40. When I distribute the negative 4/3 times 25, I get negative 100 over 3 plus 40. And so this is going to get a little ugly on us. What I'll do is I'll put the 40 over 1, and then I will multiply top and bottom by 3. So finally we have negative 100 plus 120 over 3. That gives us 20 over 3. That's a 0. And so I would be tempted to leave it like that, although you could say that it's at 6 1/3. So finally, if we go back to our graph, we now know that this is at the point x is 5, y is 6 1/3. Hope this helps.